All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Conference Carolinas Chats. We got a really interesting one today. We thought it'd be nice to talk to Converse, who's got a lot of great things going on at their Converse College right now. It's going to be Converse University pretty soon, just a big time for Converse. Obviously, also adding men's sports into the fold coming up in the near future, and that's why we decided to have this conversation today. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Director of Athletics Jennifer Bell, women's basketball head coach Jim Bernelli, and men's basketball head coach Ryan Saunders. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great.
Fantastic.
Well, Jen, I kind of alluded to it in the start, but it's obviously has been a whirlwind for you, and this is aside from a pandemic. But it's been a whirlwind for you. You're trying to hire all the coaches, get men's program started, while also trying to run a successful athletic department. What have the last few months been like for you?
Defined it perfectly with whirlwind, and I've just started my third year as an athletic director. So throw in all the searches into a pandemic and yeah, that's pretty much how I have summed it up. It's crazy enough to go through all these searches with starting the men's programs, but to have to do all of that virtually, that's pretty much how every last one of them were conducted. And maybe with the exception of Rob Miller, our men's soccer coach, he came on campus right before everything happened. And but everything else, starting with Ryan Saunders, was virtual. And I think we figured out a way just to make it work and turn it into, instead of a challenge, we looked at it as an opportunity just to learn something new as far as Zoom and Google Hangout Meet, whatever that is. And but just to figure out how to do it. And we did. And I think we were very successful going through that process. But, to also stay in touch with our staff, to be very intentional about meeting together, whether it was a 10-minute catch up or a 30, 45-minute, full session with the full staff, or if it was a Friday afternoon happy hour as a staff, just, doing absolutely nothing but sitting on our patios with our dogs in our lap, just talking as a staff about non-work related stuff. So those being very intentional was important for us. And I think we really got to know each other a little bit better. I know I did on some of those one-on-one calls, and then our coaches were doing that as well with our student athletes. And I think that's going to be beneficial to us as we move forward.
That's great. You're exactly right. I think that's what's not lost on all of us, but lost to the outside world, is that we have had a little bit more one-on-one time. It might not be face-to-face, but we have been able to talk. And Jim, speaking of that, obviously you're no stranger to Conference Carolinas, but at the same time, you just got back into it. We have all this other stuff going on. It's probably been a crazy whirlwind's probably the right one for you as well. What has that been like over the last year, and then also setting up for the future as you're trying to build a culture at Converse?
Yeah, first of all, it's just great to be back working for Coach Bell. We go back a long time, and it's just great to be back in this area. Absolutely love it. But despite the pandemic, we did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Obviously, our win-loss record wasn't where I wanted to be as a coach, and nor was it where our players wanted to be. But we really laid a lot of foundation blocks behind the scenes. And so we made some great strides, and we were hoping to really continue to lay those sturdy foundation blocks in postseason. And then we were supposed to start that Monday morning at postseason. And the word came out, and it was just like, hey, the best thing about athletics and athletes and coaches, we're able to adjust and adapt on the fly. So yes, it was like a gut punch, but then it was like, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can turn this crazy time into a positive. And so what we did was we did a few Zoom calls. I'm big on texting and reaching out to not only the current players, but we signed a big class coming in. So I was making sure, trying to keep those guys on the same page prior to getting here. So we kind of did that, laid the foundation, had a lot of phone calls, had a lot of, not a ton of Zoom meetings, only because I know our kids were in Zoom class all the time. So we did a lot of texting, a lot of phone calls, did about 3 or 4 Zoom meetings, trying to continue to lay that foundation. But, now that we're back on campus and we got our hands on them, even though from 6 feet away, we're still and masked up, we're still laying those foundations. So it has been a whirlwind, but it's just been great to be back here and working here at Converse with Coach Bell and all the other coaches that are here.
Ryan, so right before obviously all of this started and we found out the pandemic was going to turn into it, you were in Spartanburg. And then, as a few weeks later, just a little time later, you're interviewing for this position. But at the same time, as Coach Bell said, it was different. It was Zoom. I mean, it was just a different thing. What has all of that been like? As we talked about Jim trying to change culture and build things for the future, but you're literally starting from scratch. So what has that been like as you're trying to help start men's athletics at Converse, but also do so while trying to do it virtually in many ways?
Right. Yeah, that is definitely an interesting process and one that I'll remember forever. But I got to thank everyone here at Converse that just made my decision, albeit virtually. Kind of didn't have a chance to really get on campus and meet people face to face, but talking to the people, the conversations we had, Coach Bell and administration did a great job. The committee just making me feel really comfortable. This is a place that I really wanted to be. And so you mentioned, us playing in Spartanburg, around the time the process started, I had a chance to see the area, get a little bit familiar with Converse. I think Coach Bell may have popped in on me on one of our semifinal, or maybe our semifinal game or our championship game. So she got a little bit of a scouting report. But no, just the excitement's through the roof here. I think, here on campus, here in Spartanburg, about, the idea of going co-ed and adding men's sports, particularly men's basketball. But really to have an opportunity to do that and build it from the ground up at a place like Converse is really special. And I'm super fortunate. This is a great place, great central location for our league, being here in Spartanburg. Of course, we're hosting the conference tournament here, so hopefully we can be a part of that in the future years. But really our location and then our college and the athletic department, the core values and the vision, I think is awesome here. And then what a time for this to be taking place. I mean, our league is growing. We're expanding. We're getting stronger and stronger, and that just makes it more exciting. So I'm really excited for the future. I know a lot of other people are too. So.
And Jen, we're talking about, that was intrinsic, maybe just focusing on Converse right now over the last few minutes, but at the same time, you're adding in men's sports to a league footprint, incorporating all of those. What has that been like for you? And then also to see everybody get excited about Converse adding the men's sports as well in Conference Carolina.
A full member really of Conference Carolinas. And while we have been a member for years on the women's side, just to know, now our counterparts are coming to join us, and I don't know, just there's something special about double headers and road trips with basketball teams, soccer teams. And, I come from a co-ed background. I went to a co-ed school, and I'm just used to that. So it's very exciting to think that some of our staff have never been part of that. And so to become really, it's a game changer in my opinion. Now we can compete for the overall Hahn Cup. Now we, and just those overall awards that we've never really been able to compete for, because as both coaches know, I'm a big competitor and I like to win. So now we've set our chances up, real nicely right now. And so just thrilled to add more programs to the conference, options and just really just to help the conference continue to grow and knowing that we have championships and, for example, men's volleyball, just knowing that is one of the sports that we've introduced as a potential first sport, and just to know that that's a conference sponsored sport already with championships, that's exciting. And that's something that we can play on, with candidates and whatnot and recruits. And, and then our conversations, just around esports in general, just, how some conferences are taking that to the next level. So, I'm excited about what our male programs can bring to the conference. And again, it makes me excited to be looked at more as a full member with both men and women competing.
And Jim, obviously, Conference Carolina is women's basketball second to none in the region, particularly, and obviously it's building. Last year was a really strong year in the league. But how does the dynamic of adding men's basketball and adding these men's sports help you recruit and help you? I mean, just help you in everything that you do daily with your women's basketball program.
Well, Coach Bell mentioned it. She used the phrase "game changer." Coming here last year was the first time where I've never been around not having men's sports. And it was unique. It was cool. But I know what it's like to be at colleges and universities that have men's sports, and Coach Bell's right. It is a game changer. The excitement level that brings to it, not just from the athletic side, but just as how we're going to grow as an entire college and university. I think it adds so much, but it checks every box, really, Brian. It really does. I mean, that has come out in our recruiting process prior. And then now it's like, hey, we're adding men's programs. We already have men on campus, that type of stuff. I think it's only going to make it better. I think we've been able to recruit some really solid student athletes last year that are freshmen here, knowing that we were going that way. But I just think the excitement level is through the roof. And hopefully I don't even think the pandemic, it may have put it down a little bit, but I think it's going to blow the roof off again just once games start going and the excitement happens and the road trips and the double headers and all that. I just think it brings an atmosphere that is what a lot of people maybe been missing here. And I think it'll just bring so much to it.
Awesome. Hey, Ryan, obviously, you kind of talked about it. You've been a part of Conference Carolinas for a while now, but you're selling your product, but you're also selling Conference Carolinas. When you highlight, Conference Carolinas men's basketball or just athletics and Conference Carolinas in general, what are you telling people that makes Conference Carolinas so special?
Well, I think, Brian, I have to highlight, first of all, kind of the mission and values of our league. And, that all the schools, we strive to be champions in mind, body, and spirit. And that's really what every institution is fighting to give our student athletes the best overall experiences. I discussed where the league stands on a regional and national level. I talk about the strength of our league from top to bottom and the parity that exists, is particularly on the men's side. I was just, kind of looking, and I share this with some of our guys, in the last 10 years, 7 conference teams have won the regular season championship, and 8 conference teams have won the conference tournament championship, and only 3 times has the same team won both of those. And so you're talking about the competition in our league being, ridiculous night in and night out. And so I think that's a huge selling point. And then obviously the addition of UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion, our league's only getting deeper and stronger. And I think it's just on all levels, just amazing. So I think our league really sells itself, and it's a very, very good league for me. Having been Division II my whole career, I sell that aspect, but being in a league like Conference Carolinas, it's awesome. It really does sell itself.
And Jen, kind of the same question, but to kind of put a bow on everything that we've been talking about right now, what excites you the most about Conference Carolinas? It could be anything. But when you're telling people about what makes Conference Carolinas special, what do you say?
Right, and I think it goes along with what Ryan was saying, that total package of what we offer, that body, mind, and soul, and being a champion in all areas. And, and that's something we're striving for here at Converse. And so, to have the conference support in that area and really leading the charge with that's exciting. Again, going back to what Ryan said, the fact that it's so competitive within the conference, that's exciting. Again, because I like to win, and I want our teams to get to that point where we're able to, be in that conversation. But then, Ryan, the leadership of our conference office, from Chris down and, all of your staff, I was part of that search committee for some of those positions, and I'm just really blown away with the things that you all have accomplished and the direction that you're leading us. And so that is also very exciting. And the resources that you provide for our member institutions, our student athletes, and, it all boils down to that student athlete experience and what we're doing. And from the conference to every institution, I truly believe we are out for that, to give them the best experience they can possibly have in all areas. So I'm just very excited about the future of what this conference, or this past year, but what this conference is going to do moving forward.
You're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. Not about us. We appreciate the thoughts, but more about that it's all about the student athlete. Because really, at the end of the day, we've talked about a bunch of things, a lot of things going on, but I think that's just what makes Conference Carolina so special, is the elite student athletes and the type of student athletes that are attracted to play at Conference Carolina. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate all of you joining us today on Conference Carolina's Chats. And we'll see you next time where we talk to the athletic trainers. they've gone through a lot over the last few months. We'll talk to them about what that's been like and what the future holds for them over the next few months. We'll see you next time. Thank you.